Hey, welcome everybody. Glad to see you all here today. We're going to talk about Apple calendars. So this is Go for Lunch for September 6th, 2022, brought to you by GoFor Technology. I'm your host, Roger Harmon, and our motto here, as always, is to make your technology work for you. And we hope that you had a restful, peaceful Labor Day weekend. So, Apple Calendar. So this program is aimed at two different groups of people. Those that already use Apple Calendar. Hopefully we're going to show you some tricks that you weren't aware of. And those who haven't started using Apple Calendar. And my wish is that we'll show you why it's a useful app. Because it's on all of your Apple devices, your Mac, your iPhone, your iPad, and your Apple Watch. And when you put an event in one of those devices, it shows up on all the other devices. So, you start off by creating a new event. We're going to use the Mac to begin with here. So there's several ways to do this. Once you can go to the menu bar at the top of your screen, click on File, and click on New Event. The easier way to do it is to use the keyboard shortcut, which is Command N for New. And you can also click on the little plus sign in the upper left-hand corner, and that looks like this. And then you can do a free-form event by naming the event, a time, and a day. You can either use a date or a time, a day of the week or a date is what I'm trying to say there. So let's look and see how that works. So here we are in our calendar, and so this red line here shows you the actual time. And so if we wanted to create a new event, let's say we could also, a third way to do it is to double click on the time. So this is 1 o'clock. I use 24-hour time, so it says 1300 there. And I double click, and then I can either just start typing here, or I can start typing up here where the cursor is positioned. So we'll just start typing here. So we'll say brunch with, well, I should call that lunch, shouldn't I? It's a little late for brunch. So we'll change that up here. So lunch with Bob and Gretchen. So you notice here, this is a previous event, so it brought in the address. But if I wanted to change the event address, I would type in something like, we want to go to Lowe's Ventana Canyon Resort. So that's where we're going to go. And then of course, it has the time here that I clicked on the day view. But if I wanted to change the time, I just click here, click on the hour, and change it. And when I change it, it changes the end time because my default time for each event is 1 hour. And if I wanted to change the end time, I would click here, and it gives me the option of different increments here. So if I wanted to have a long lunch, I could click here and have a 2.5-hour lunch. So that's how you enter an event. And then there's the little plus sign up here in the upper left-hand corner. And then you would just type in here your free-form event with a time and a date. And so this is I'm going to send an invitation for this, and we'll talk about invitations here in a minute. So I'm not going to do that right now. So we'll just start over. Okay. So we named the event, we added a location, and when you add that location, it also shows up on Apple Maps. When you go to the calendar event, you click on the location and it opens Apple Maps, and then you can get driving instructions from wherever you are to that location. And we showed you how to set the start time and the end time. You can also set up an event to repeat. So you can repeat every day, every week, every month, and every year. So obviously you'd use the year for birthdays, month for monthly meetings, week for weekly meetings, and a day for like maybe a conference that's going to be 2 or 3 days. You could set that up with one entry and have it show up on each day of the conference. So let's take a look at that. So let's start another event here. So we'll start this one again at 1 o'clock. Double click. And we're going to call this conference. Okay. And then here in gray, because app designers like to do things in gray, even though it's hard to read, we have down here, let's see if we can get rid of this little menu here. There we go. We have repeat, so it's defaults to none. We hit the up and down arrows. So we're going to say this conference is every day. And then we can end the repeat either after, so let's say it's going to be a 3-day event, so we'll just after 3 times, or we could also put in a date. So if we click here, we could also put in a date. So it automatically put in the date for 3 days. So that way now if we go to the next day, or if we go to our week view, which we'll talk about in more detail later, you can see we have the conference here for 3 days in a row. So back to the day view. So you set a repeat. You can also set a custom repeat, and that way you can select a certain day of the week, or you can select a day of the month. So as we go back to our calendar, we have, for example, on the 3rd Wednesday, or I should say the 3rd Tuesday, which we can use on this mini calendar here to go to a certain date. Also, we have another calendar down here, and this one allows you to look at the next month, whereas this one is on the upper right is the current month. So let's look at the 20th. And so we have, we go down here, we have T-Mug meetings. So that's the Tucson Macintosh user group. And so you can see here it repeats every month on the 3rd Tuesday. And we did that by clicking on a custom repeat. And you can see here we designated that it would happen on the 3rd Tuesday of the month. So that's a real nice feature. You can schedule all your meetings for the whole year or however long you want, with again with just one entry, and it keeps your life organized, which is the whole idea here, right? Another nice feature of the calendar is to put in your travel time. So you can get a default travel time, or you can get a custom travel time. So the default travel times are listed here, but if you click on custom, then you can put any time in there that you want. So let's check that out. So we're going to click OK here, and we're going to actually cancel that and leave it the same. And then we're going to go down here to travel time. It defaults to none. And then you see the default times, or we can put a custom time in here, whatever we want there. And then we can put in a alert. Now the default is there's 2 alerts, but I added a 3rd alert. So I get an alert 2 hours before, which is the default, and I put another 2-hour alert in here. But I could also put in time to leave. So if I put the time to leave in, we can either say that's only for this one meeting, or it's all future events or meetings. So we'll say it's only for this one. Okay. And then what it's going to do is it's going to give me, let's see, what didn't that take? I think. Okay. So that should have put in time to leave. My calendar, I've been using it so much, it's getting a little persnickety here. So let's go ahead and talk about another feature here that you may not know about, and that is your default alert is a message with a sound. However, if it's a really important event that you want to be doubly reminded of, then you can put in an email address. So this email address could be either your email address, or it could be the email address of the person that you're meeting with. So that's a very nice feature that you may not be aware of. So we'll just cancel that. So those are the alerts. And just to review, you can put in your time to leave. You can put in one of these defaults, or you can put in a alert message with a sound, or you can put in the email for yourself or your person that you're meeting with. So very handy. You can also invite somebody to the event. You can add notes, you can add a URL, you can add an attachment, and if you want to stay, we'll talk about that in a second. So here's what it looks like in the calendar. You add invitees, notes, URL, or attachment. And then on the other person's calendar, there's a little inbox, and they'll get a badge, which is a red circle with a number in it, indicating that they've been invited. And then they'll have the option to decline or accept. And if they accept it, then it will appear on their calendar. So here's what that looks like. So we have here add invitees. So then you would just type in a name, and it brings up their email address. You would click on that, and then you would click on send here in the lower right hand corner, and Bob would get that invitation. And if I click on this again, I can, if I change my mind and I don't want to invite Bob, then I can remove that. And then here I can add a note, a URL. For example, if it was a Zoom meeting, you could add the link, the web link for the Zoom meeting. If you were going out to dinner with somebody. You could add a menu for the restaurant, or you could even add the website for the restaurant here. And then you would update it down here in the corner. You can have multiple calendars, so you might want to have a calendar for your personal events, another one for work events, another one, for example, for travel. So if you had a travel calendar, you could put in your itineraries for your trips, and you could turn that on when you're traveling and turn it off when you're not traveling, so you're not seeing those events when you don't need to. So we can also share calendars, and you do that through iCloud. You can also put your Google Calendar if you have events that are on a Google Calendar on your Apple Calendar. So let's look at this. So here are all our different calendars here on the left panel. So the ones that have check marks in front of them are the ones that I am showing on my calendar. So some of these I've subscribed to, like a Zoom workshop calendar I've subscribed to. Then here's Google calendars that I'm subscribed to or showing on my calendar. And then I have birthdays, which comes from the Contacts app. So birthdays are showing up on my calendar if I entered them in Contacts in the birthday field. So let's talk about a concept called calendar blocking. So that's how you can be super organized if you block everything in your calendar, everything you're doing during the day. So you could block out your day. You could put in time for reading a book. You could put in time for doing your laundry. You could have your whole day organized and be, get a whole look at your day as you start out in the morning. Now, last week when we were talking about reminders, Susan mentioned that she uses the calendar for her task, which you certainly can do. If you have a task that has a deadline, a date and a time, then it can certainly be put in your calendar. And then if you have tasks that are just like a to-do list, you could put those in your reminders. So that is calendar blocking. So a nice thing about a digital calendar is that you can easily edit it. You can do a drag and drop, or you can do a copy and paste. So let's see what that looks like. So here's a event here, which I call demo. And if I wanted to move it from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, I just hold my mouse or trackpad down and drag it, drag and drop. So it's a recurring event, so it gives me a notification of whether I want to make this for all future events or just this one only. So I'm going to say this one only. So I could also, if I go to the week here, so here's the demo here, and notice it's a different color because it's my home calendar as opposed to my default calendar, which is called Calendar 1. So if I right click on it, I could cut it, and then I want to just cut this event, and then I could go to another time slot and right click, and you notice it says paste here as well as new event. So there it is at 3:15. Then I could also duplicate it. So if I had something that I wanted to duplicate, for example, when I get my schedule for my personal trainer, I'd put the first one in on Monday, then I copy it or I duplicate it and then put it in, I paste it in for Wednesday and Friday or whatever days I work. And then you also have an option here to mail that event to somebody. So that's how you can edit your calendar. So you have different calendar views. You can view by the day, the week, the month, and the year. And you can also print your calendar. So let's look at that. So here we are in the week, we were in the day, and here is the month. So when you're in the month view, you see the first 4 events, and then it has a notation here of how many additional events. So here it says 4 more, back in that gray type. So that's your monthly view, and then the yearly view gives you a whole year calendar. So if you click on a day, you right click on a day, or actually it's a left click, you see the first 4 events for that day. Now, what if you want to print your calendar? So you could do that by the year, which of course would just give you a calendar with the dates. You could do it for a month. So let's say we want to print the September calendar. So you bring up the calendar, you go to File and Print, or Command P is the shortcut. And you can see here in the preview that you're getting the whole calendar. You're also getting some mini calendars. So this is, in the center is this month, on the left is last month, and on the right is the next month. And then up here it shows you which calendars are being printed. So these are the ones that I have the check marks in front of. And then you have some options here for all day events, timed events, mini calendar. So if I uncheck mini calendar, you see that goes away. And the calendar keys, these are the calendar keys. So that goes away. And then we have an option here for printing in black and white. If you're using a laser printer, you might want to choose that. And then you can also adjust the size of the text. So if we go to big, you can see that the text is bigger, but of course it takes up much more room. So you can have a paper calendar and a digital calendar. So you could put this on the refrigerator, so you could have a quick reference of what's coming up during the month. So another nice feature of a digital calendar is that you can easily search. So the search field is up here in the upper right-hand corner. And you can also get a list of events by searching with double quotes. And then we'll talk about the today function. So here's our search. So if I wanted to figure out when my last haircut was, I would just type haircut. And then I look down here at the bottom, and my last haircut was on August 17th. So then I know when to schedule my next haircut, because I get my haircut about once a month. Now if I put in the double quotes here, then I get a list. So the list, as you can see here from the scroll bar, it is way down at the bottom. And there was obviously a lot of things going on there, because we got the beach ball of death, because it was calculating back down, or I should say back to the year. If I scrolled all the way up here, it would say 1999. So you can see here the different colors. So blue is my home calendar, purple is my main calendar, and the kind of greenish color here are birthdays. But here's my list for today, tomorrow, and Thursday. So we click on the little X and we go back to the normal month. So now we've seen how it works on the Mac. Let's look and see how it works in iOS and iPad OS and on the Apple Watch. So we're going to go to our Inspecto Cam so you can see the different things here. So here is the iPhone, and again this works the same on the iPad, just of course has a bigger screen. So the calendar is right here in the lower right. So we click here, let's cancel that, get back to normal. Okay, so here's my day view. And so I can just click on the days up here to change days. And again, if I want to go back to today, I would click today here in the lower left-hand corner. If I wanted to add a new event, I would go to the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner, put in my event name, location. To change the date, I click on the date and just choose a date here on the calendar. To change the time, click on the time and then rotate the to the right time. To change the end time, click on the end time here and change that. Then I can choose a time zone. Then we have the same functions here. Repeat, travel time, your calendar. This is the default calendar, calendar 1. I can invite people. I can put in an alert, a second alert, add an attachment, a URL, a note. So basically, it works the same. I can also do the search up here. And here's one difference is if I want to see a list view, then I click on this icon here, which is the dot with a horizontal line, 3 of them. So there's my list view. So here's Tuesday, Wednesday, and I keep scrolling and see the rest of the week. So I click on this icon again, get back to the day view. And to get to the week view, then I take the iPhone or iPad and I click up here on week. So here's my week view. If I want to see next week, I just scroll to the right, back here to the current week. If I want to see the month, I tap month at the top of the screen. So it gives me a monthly calendar here, and then it's showing me the list for today. So if I click on another day, I get the list for that day. And then on the year, it's showing me today's date and month in red, September the 6th. So here's the inbox up here, if we get that reflection out of there. So here's the inbox right up here. And then this is my list of different calendars here. When I click on this little icon that's highlighted in red, I can see all my different calendars. And then if I want to add an event, I can put in click on the little plus sign, put in the event title, location, and if I want it to be an all-day event, then I click this little switch on all day and back to the start time, start date, and all the other options here. So that's how it works on the iPhone and the iPad. And then to get my lanyard rearranged here, then on the Apple Watch, you can see here I have my watch face with a calendar. And so my next event is the example we put in as a conference. If I click on that, then I get a calendar that I can scroll through. So here's what I'm doing on Wednesday. So it works right on the Apple Watch as well. So we have come to the fun part, your questions. But before we do that, a couple of announcements. Zoom was updated on August the 30th. So if you haven't updated your Zoom recently, please do that. And remember to share the GoFor Gazette with other Apple users. And then tomorrow is the Apple event at 10 o'clock. And a person on Twitter put out a bingo card for the event, which is called Far Out. So down below in the description, you'll see a link to the bingo card. So if you want to play along, each square of the bingo card is something that's rumored to be announced. So you can get your little pinto beans out or something and mark the squares where that actually was announced and play along. And we will recap the Apple event next Tuesday, the 13th of September. So we will have a customized recap of the things that I think will be of interest to you. So let's go back to our questions and see who has joined us. So we've got Chris and Leslie Ann and Bob. And okay, so let's look at these comments here. So Leslie Ann had a problem here that Alexa didn't remind her. So okay, so Bob comments that on the Mac he looks at the month view, and on the iPhone he uses the today view. So I wonder what some of you other people use. I pretty much use the day view on the iPhone, and on the Mac I probably use the day view as well as the week view. So Chris answered Bob's question by saying that he uses the weekly view on the Mac and the daily view on his phone. And Bob says that he meant the question for me, but the more answers the better. So that's good. So Chris wants to know, what kind of watch band is that, Roger? So this is a camera. So you can see there is a lens, and if I can twist my wrist, there is another lens. So that's the selfie lens there, and that's the other lens. And so I can take a picture with my watch band. That's called the wrist cam. It took a long time for it to come out. It was originally called the camera, spelled C-A-M-R. And I think it took about 3 years from the time they put it on Kickstarter or Indiegogo until they actually shipped the product. But they did ship the product. So Bob just sent me a test invitation on my calendar. So let's go look at that. So we're going to go back to our calendar. And you can see up here, well, let's just go to the day. So there's less clutter there. So you can see up here in the little inbox icon, there's a number 1. I thought that came up as a badge, which I said would be red, but it just comes up as a number without a badge. So now I click on that, and then Bob invited me to a test, and then my choices are decline, maybe, or accept, and it's today at 1300. So if I click on accept, Then if I go up here to today, and there it is right there. So good demonstration, Bob. Thank you for that. So you need to get in the habit of looking up here, because a lot of people don't even realize that they can receive invitations to calendar events. So you want to check up here in that upper left hand corner and see if there's a number there, and then do it that way. So good. Okay, so Chris is wishing that we could do a session on Google Workplace Business Starter, and I think, Chris, that you're probably the exception to the rule. I'm not sure we're going to do that, but I'm sure other people will on YouTube, so keep an eye out for it. And look at that, a camera on your wrist. And Chris Wright wants to know, hi Chris, if you can send a text instead of an email, and at the moment the answer is no. The only option there is an email. Good question. So there you have it, Apple Calendars. I hope that you learned something, and if you haven't already, please subscribe down below and click that bell to get a notification when we go live. And again, we are 6 people shy of 100 subscriptions, so invite your friends to come and watch and subscribe. And obviously you can watch these after the fact if you miss it live. Everything we do is recorded on our YouTube channel, which you can easily get to by clicking on the link in the GoFor Gazette. So, thank you all for joining. Glad to have you. Great questions. And we will see you next week. Have a great rest of your day.